channel. And today we're going to talk about the Grimoire. If you don't know what the Grimoire are, they're books written by and for witches. They range from kitchen witch, herbs, and stones, crystals, all the way to the Book of the Dead. Let's get started talking about this, shall we? To dive a little deeper into what a grimoire is, it is known by the names as a book of spells, a magic book, or a spell book. It is a textbook of magic, and it typically includes instructions on how to create magical objects like talismans and amulets, how to perform magical spells, charms, divination, and how to summon or invoke supernatural entities such as angels, spirits, deities, and even demons. In many cases, the books themselves are believed to be imbued with magical powers. The only contents found in a grimoire would be information on spells, rituals, and the preparation of magical tools and lists of ingredients and their magical correspondences. In this manner, while all books on magic could be thought of as grimoires, they are not. Not all magical books should be considered a grimoire. While the term grimoire is originally European, and many Europeans throughout history, particularly ceremonial magicians and cunning folk, have used grimoires, the historian Owen Davies has noted that similar books can be found all around the world, ranging from Jamaica to Sumatra. He's also noted that in this sense, the world's first grimoires were created in Europe and the ancient Near East. The earliest known written magical incantations come from ancient Mesopotamia, which is modern Iraq, where they have been found inscribed on cuneiform clay tablets that archaeologists excavated from the city of Uruk and dated to between the 5th and 4th centuries BC. The ancient Egyptians also employed magical incantations, which have been found inscribed on amulets or other items. The Egyptian magical system, known as Heka, was greatly altered and expanded after the Macedonians, led by Alexander the Great, invaded Egypt in 33-2 BC. Under the next 3 centuries of Hellenistic Egypt, the Coptic writing system evolved, and the Library of Alexandria was opened. This likely had an influence upon the books of magic, with the trends changing from known incantations of simple health and protection charms to more specific and not always kind incantations and spells. This is based on the Greek god Hermes. This figure was associated with writing and magic, and therefore of books on magic. The ancient Jewish people were often viewed as being knowledgeable in magic, which, according to legend, they had learned from Moses, who had learned it in Egypt. Among many ancient writers, Moses was seen as an Egyptian rather than a Jew. Two manuscripts, likely dated to the 4th century, both of which purport to be the legendary 8th book of Moses. And for those of you who do not know, the first 5 books of the Old Testament are said to be written by Moses. The 8th one is not included. And they present him as a polytheist who explained how to conjure gods and subdue demons. There is definite evidence of grimoires being used by certain particularly Gnostic sects of early Christianity. In the Book of Enoch, which was removed from the Bible, here is a time glitch thing for me. I grew up with Enoch, the book of Enoch, being in the Bible. But it's not in there now. And according to theologians, the book of Enoch was removed centuries ago. The book of Enoch is mystical, magical, and talks about things like UFOs. And Enoch claims that he is the Son of God, and he is the man who will sit at the right hand side of God. So you can see why men who edited the Bible, decided what went in and what didn't, might have felt like removing the book of Enoch. But for some reason, I know, Rob knows, my husband knows, we were all raised in the church, that we grew up with Bibles with Enoch in them. But that's not. So, in the book of Enoch, found within the Dead Sea Scrolls, for instance, there is information on astrology and angels. In possible connection with the book of Enoch, the idea of Enoch and his great-grandson Noah having involvement with books of magic given to them by angels continued throughout the medieval period. In the book of Acts, verse 19, the scripture talks about witchcraft and Christianity. So if you have a Bible handy, look up Acts 19 and just keep reading, you'll find it. But I'll go ahead and give the quote right now. Many of those in Ephesus who believed in Christianity now came and openly confessed their evil deeds. I'm going to add this. They did so because people started hearing Paul preach about Jesus and how he could take the demons out, exorcise a person. So what they would do is they would say to somebody that they thought was possessed by a demon that in the name of Jesus, of whom Paul speaks of, come out. And in one particular instance, noted in the Bible, this happened, and the demon spoke back and said, I know of Jesus, and I know of Paul, but who are you? And that scared the Christians who practiced witchcraft into doing what I'm telling you right now. They took their scrolls and they burned them publicly, their crafts, their spells. When they calculated the value of the scrolls, the total came to 50,000 drachmas. In this way, the word of the Lord spread widely and grew in power. They were now afraid to practice openly witchcraft. And that's the religious aspect. And I just want you to know that in this case of the Grimoire, it does have many associations with the Christian religion, which is why I'm mentioning that. And we'll go to where they stand now and how they got to the point where we got to the Book of the Dead. Israelite King Solomon was a biblical figure, but he was also associated with magic and sorcery in the ancient world. The first century Roman Jewish historian Josephus mentioned a book circulating that was under the name of Solomon that contained incantations for summoning demons and described how a person of Jewish descent called Eleazar used it to cure cases of possession. The book may have been the Testament of Solomon, but was more probably a different work. The pseudepigraphic Testament of Solomon is one of the oldest magical texts. It is a Greek manuscript attributed to Solomon and was likely written in either Babylonia or Egypt sometime in the first 5 centuries AD, over 1,000 years after Solomon's death. In the medieval period, the production of grimoires continued as Christendom, as well as amongst Jews and followers of the newly founded Islamic faith, As the historian Owen David notes, that while Christian church was ultimately successful in defeating paganism, and this is me speaking here, I don't believe that the Christian church so much defeated paganism as it absorbed it, took its holidays and its symbols, and paganism was still practiced, just it was not allowed to be openly practiced as it had been before. The church never managed to clearly maintain a line of practice between religious devotion and magic. The use of books on magic continued. In Christianized Europe, the church divided books on magic into two kinds: those that dealt with, quote, natural magic, and those that dealt in demonic magic. The former, the natural magic, was acceptable because it was viewed as merely taking note of the powers of nature that were created by God. For instance, the use of leeches, which then came with some spells for medicinal purposes, and they were tolerated. Demonic magic was not acceptable because it was believed that such magic did not come from God, but from the devil and his demons. These grimoires dealt in such topics as necromancy, divination, and demonology. Despite this, there is ample evidence that the medieval clergy were the main practitioners of magic, and therefore the owners, transcribers, and circulators of grimoires. And it is said that while written by some clergy, that many were attributed to popes writing them. One of those demonic books was an Arabic grimoire, and that was devoted to astral magic. Then it was translated into Latin, and it turns out that it was largely based on the teachings of King Solomon. Again, back to King Solomon. And these included such ideas as prayers and prayer circles, ritual circles, with the mystical purpose of having visions of God, hell, purgatory, and gaining much wisdom and knowledge as a result. The idea of demonology remained strong through the Renaissance period, and several demonological grimoires were published, including the fourth book of occult philosophy, which falsely claimed to have been authored by a man named Cornelius Agrippa. The Pseudomonarchia Damianum, say that again, which listed 69 demons, was written. To counter this, the Roman Catholic Church authorized the production of many works of exorcisms, the rituals of which were often so similar that they were almost identical to those very same grimoire anti-demon spells. Alongside these demonological works, grimoires on natural magic continued to be produced, because the history of grimoires goes back from 4 or 5 BC to current day. I'm going to skip a little bit, a few centuries, and bring us up to more modern times, the 20th and 21st centuries. The Secret Grimoire of Turiel claims to have been written in the 16th century, but there is no copy that's ever been found that is older than 1927. A modern grimoire, the Simon Necronomicon, takes its name from a fictional book of magic in the stories of H.P. Lovecraft that was inspired by Babylonian mythology, and the Ars Goetia, one of the 5 books that make up the lesser books of King Solomon, concerning the summoning of demons. The Azotia of Andrew D. Chumley has been described by Gavin Semple as a modern grimoire The neo-pagan religion of Wicca publicly appeared in the 1940s, and Gerald Gardner introduced the Book of Shadows as a Wiccan grimoire. The term grimoire commonly serves as an alternative name for a spellbook or a book of magical knowledge in fantasy and fiction or role-playing games. The most famous fictional grimoire is the Necronomicon, a creation of H.P. Lovecraft. One of the most famous grimoires is the Book of the Dead, an ancient Egyptian collection of mortuary texts made up of spells and magic formulas placed in tombs and believed to protect and aid the deceased in the hereafter, probably compiled and re-edited during the 16th century BCE. One of the most recent grimoires was written by a man named Zach Crowley, and I think that he has a series of 3. And you can find in his book The Rituals of Undoing, The Anubis Ring of Necromancy, The Infernal Offering, Burnt Sacrificing, Tying Someone's Tongue, The Devil's Vintage, Thorned Rose Curse, The Curse of Reveral, The Hex of Minor Inconveniences, which a petty girl thinks is kind of funny. It has the Death's Door spells. It has How to Win a Court Case. It has Dark Mistress. It has the Grave Song to prevent secrets from being told. It has Abaddon's Hoard. It has circle castings and elaborate ritual castings. And I follow this man on social media. And he is a book dealer and a bookseller. No, those are the same things. He's a book collector and a book dealer. And he has original books, fascinating original books. And one thing he specializes in is grimoires. And he was saying that people would come in and ask him for a grimoire when what they really wanted was herbal remedies or, the the curse of feeling like you have had bees stinging you type of things, the curse of inconveniences. And he said that he always tells them that is not a grimoire, and he won't sell them a grimoire. And he has in his possession one of the oldest known ever published grimoires, and it is covered in skin. And he said that nobody, without his permission, is allowed to see it or touch it. He keeps it locked up because he believes that this particular grimoire is an evil entity. You can make an appointment with him to be in a room with security, to be able to touch it. You are not allowed to write down any incantations, any spells, because they are spells on how to open Hell's Gate, on how to open the powers of hell, of how to cause someone's death. And he believes so strongly in its strength that he protects it, which I find really interesting. He's a former professor, history professor, not religious, and yet feeling this grimoire makes him believe in the occult in demons, and in hell. So, tell me, have you ever been able to get your hands on a grimoire? Have you ever heard the term grimoire? Would you be interested in something like a grimoire? Now keep in mind that most grimoires have spells that are harmful. Most, if not all. Also, other spells and uses of herbal remedies and such and crystals. But the spells can be, well, he thinks they can be taken and felt just by touching the book. So, would you want to touch that book? Would you want to look at it? My curiosity kills me, but I've had a bad experience talking about demons, which those of you who have been here for a long time, you guys know. And so I feel like in my case, the curiosity just might kill the cat. So I'd have to probably not. I wish I could see pictures of it, though. And he was holding it in his hand during the video, which I thought was brave or stupid. I don't know. Please give this video a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, as 70% of you are not, go ahead and subscribe and click that bell so you can be notified when my content goes live. And thank you for coming to my channel. Good night.